Welcome to channel Qtomation. In previous session, we have seen how to select element from drop-down list. For a simple drop-down which contains a select tag, how we can select element from that drop-down that we have seen in our last session. Today we will see putting some assertions. For example, if I want to verify if that specific drop-down is having exact count of elements. So let's say I have one drop down which contains 12 elements. I want to check the count of those 12 elements. So I want to check whether that drop down contains 12 options in that drop down or not. That is kind of assertions we can add in our test case. Apart from that, also we can check if any specific element present in that drop down or not. That also one of the assertion we can put in our test cases whenever we are operating with drop down list. So we will see how to check number of options in drop down and how to check presence of specific option in drop down using looping and without looping as well. So for that I will show you a practical example. So let's go to Visual Studio Code. Inside this I am going to create a new file. Let's name it as dropdown underscore test dot spec.js. So we have created one file. First step is again as usual we have to create constant which includes test comma expect, and this equals to require from Playwright test module. So we are importing these modules. After importing this, we have to create a test block. Inside this test block I am just naming it, let's say assertion in dropdown, comma we have to create one anonymous function. Inside this anonymous function we have to provide the page fixture. Before that we have to use async keyword. This is our test block which we have created. After that we can start our test case writing. So let's say await. First step is page dot go to. I will just use our previous example where we are opening www.facebook.com. After opening this facebook.com, what we are going to do? We are basically going to click on this sign up for Facebook link. So I will just use await page dot get by text method. In this I will just pass that text. What is the text here? Sign up for Facebook. I am just copying this text. So it will click on that link by using click method. Once you click on this link, we will go to this sign up page, and on this sign up page I want to find out how many options are there inside this month drop down. That is the first thing I want to check. So how many values are there? If you see 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12, so total count is 12. So I want to verify that this drop down contains count of 12 options. So how we can verify that? So first step is, when you have to check the count, what I am doing, I am just going to create one variable, or you can say a constant. Let's say constant months equals to page dot locator inside this page.locator we have to pass the locator which will identify all the 12 elements. So let's inspect this drop down. So in our last session also we have seen this drop down. So I'm just going to use the same drop down. It contains a select tag. Inside this select tag, if you see, all the options are present inside which tag? Option tag. So inside this select tag, there is a option tag. So what we can do, we can first identify this locator. So what is the locator? ID equals to month. So ID equals to month. I'm just now writing the XPath for that, or we can say directly use ID as well. So hash month. If I use option, if you see, hash month is for the ID of this locator, drop down list, and then I'm simply using option. So when you use hash month space option, it is highlighting all the elements which are present in this drop down. If you see, all the 12 elements, if you see the count, all the 12 elements are getting found by this specific locator. So this specific locator is able to direct to all the 12 options present in drop down. So this locator I am going to use here. So if I see my script, months equal to page.locator, in this I am just passing this locator. It is capturing total how many values? 12 values. It is capturing total 12 values. So after capturing this, now we can put our validation point. We can now put the validation point by using await. For validation, which function we have to use? Expect function. So we are simply using await expect this months to have count. So we are going to check the count. So we have one method, that is expect function. We have one method, that is to have count. So it will check that months is having the count of 12 or not. So I'm just passing the value of 12 here. So if this locator is capturing n number of elements, so it will capture, let's say, 12 number of elements, and here we are checking whether that element count is 12 or not. If it is 12, then it will pass the test case. If it is not 12, then test case will fail. So now I am just saving this file, and let's execute this file to check the output. So we have written the test case. Now we are going to execute this file. So what is the command to execute the file? npx playwright test. After that we have to provide name of the file. So what is the name? Dropdown underscore test dot spec dot js. Headed mode and project equals to Chromium to launch in Chromium browser. So let's execute this test case. So it will launch the facebook.com. It will click on sign up for Facebook link. Then it will find out all the 12 options, and it will check whether that drop down is having count of 12 or not. If it is 12, the test case will pass. If it is not 12, then test case will fail. But in our case, it will pass because we have put the exact value of 12 there. So in month drop down, there are 12 values. So now it is going to see, it happened so fast. If you see, test case is passed because it matched the count of 12 months in this drop down. Instead of 12, let's say I am putting 15. Now the test case should fail because now the test case should fail. So let's execute one more time. So this time the test case should fail because we are expecting months to have the count of 15 in that drop down. But in reality, it will give you 12. So it will be mismatch. So test case will fail this time. If you see, test case is failed. Test case is failed, and it will show you why it is failed. That is also it will show. If you see expected value 15. In our test case, we are saying that we are expecting the value of that count to be 15. But we have received the value as 12. So that's why that test case got failed. So this is one of the example by which we can count the element of drop down and we can put validation around that count. Now we will see one more example. Now let's say I want to print all those values. I want to print all those values which are present in the month drop down. So in this drop down, whatever values are there, I want to print all those values. So how to perform that operation? So I will just check now. So what I will do, I will use looping option. I can use looping and then I can check for that. So first step is, we have already stored these options in these months. After that, what I will do, I am just commenting this part. Then I will use for loop, and we are also going to store the count as well. So let's say I'm just going to store this count. Let's say constant month underscore count equals to page dot locator. We have already capturing this months, so months dot count. So it will store the count of this locator option. So total count will be 12 here. So basically it will give you the count of 12. Now what we will do, we are going to use a looping statement. So by using looping statement, we can print all the values. So what I will do for that, I'm going to simply use one for loop. Inside this for loop, I will perform let I equals to 0. After that, I is less than month count, and we are going to increment the value of I. Then inside this for loop, now we are inside the for loop. So inside this for loop, what we will do, we will put, we are going to capture the text. So if you see what we are doing here, we are storing all the locators in this months object, and from this object we are going to iterate now by using for loop. So one by one, what we will do, we have to capture the text of that specific element. So I'm just creating one constant. Let's say month underscore text equals to, what we have to do here, so we are using for loop, then we have to use await. We are going to loop around, so await from this months, what we have to do, from this months dot nth index, from this months we are going to pass nth index, and in which we have to pass this I variable, so that in the first iteration it will capture first, that is the 0th index element, and from that we have to fetch the text content. So we have to fetch the text content, and that text content we are going to store in this month text very constant. So in this we are going to put that text, and then we can simply use console.log. We can print this value, that is month text. So in first iteration what will happen, so in this for loop, in first iteration it will capture the first locator, that is JAN. It will extract the text for that. From the first value, it will extract the text content, it will print the text content. In the next content, next iteration, it will find I equals to 1. So it will fetch the value of FEB text content, it will print that text content. And it will so on, it will continue the loop. It will print all the values present in that drop down. It will print all the values which are present in that specific drop down. So now let's execute this file. So let's execute this file to check whether all the values of that drop down are getting printed in our console or not. So it is launching the browser. It is launching the browser. It will click on sign up for Facebook, and some error is there. So let's see what is the error. Okay, so I think on line number 8 we have made a small mistake. Okay, so we have to use await here. Let's save this and let's execute this file one more time. Here also I think we should use await. We are missing this value, await page.locator. Let's save this file. And now if you see the output here, if you see the output, all the elements of output is present here. So let me execute one more time. So let's execute this file. So it will launch the browser, it will open the facebook.com, it will click on sign up for Facebook, and it will capture all the values from that drop down one by one. It will fetch the text and it will print on the console. If you see in the console, all the values got printed. Jan, Feb, March, April, May, June, all the values of that drop down got printed in our console. So now after that what we can do, I will show you. Let's say I want to find out the presence of specific element. So I want to find out the presence of specific element, or let's say I want to check whether this APR, that is April, is present in that drop down or not. If it is present, then the test case is pass. If it is not present, then test case should fail. So we are going to put that logic. So what we have to do, before this for loop, I will create one flag. Let's say let flag equals to one variable, boolean variable I am creating. Let flag equals to false. So initial value I am giving it as false. After creating this value, now here we are capturing the month text. So I am just commenting this printing wala part. I am just commenting this print statement. I am going to, let's say, remove this statement as of now, because we don't need to print all the values. We just have to check whether APR, one of the specific value, is present in the drop down or not. So I will put one if condition. If this month text which we are capturing, if this month dot text by using include method. So we want to check by using includes method. In this we want to pass this APR. So what I am checking, that if month dot take month underscore text is including the value of APR, if it includes the value of APR, then we will make that flag equals to true. That means the condition will become true. So if this month text, so in every iteration it will check whether that month text is including the value of APR or not. If it is APR, then this flag will become true and we can simply use break, because we don't want to iterate furthermore. If we have already find out this value, then we can simply use break statement. After using break, it will come out of this loop basically. And then after that we can put our condition, that is outside of the for loop we can check by using await statement. We can simply use await statement. In this we can put the condition, that is await expect that specific flag, and we have one method for expect function, to be truth. So we are checking to be truthy method. If it is true, then test case will pass. If it is not true, if it is still false, then test case will fail. So that is the method which we are using here to verify whether this flag is true or false. And what it will decide that flag is true or false? Basically this for loop. So in this, initially you have set the flag value equals to false. Then we are iterating through all the values of these months, right? So for these months, we are checking one by one. So for 0th index, for first index, for second index, up to 11th index, we are checking if that value includes, we are fetching the text content, we are storing it in month text, then we are checking if that month text includes APR or not. If this value is present, it will immediately make the flag value equals to true, and it will come out of this loop, and that it will check for expect condition. It is expecting that flag to be true. So this method will return true. It will pass the validation if flag is true, else it will return false. Else it will return false and test case will fail. So now let's execute this test case. So let's execute this test case and check whether the test case gets passed or not. So this time this test case should pass because it will find this APR value. So that's why it will be passed. So now it will launch the browser. It is starting the test case. It is clicking sign up for Facebook, and if you see, test case is passed. So it has checked one by one if this value is present or not. If we find this value, that means it passed. Now instead of APR, let's say I am putting, let's say ABCD. Now whether it will pass or fail. In our month drop down, we don't have any value which contains ABCD as an option. So there is no ABCD option in that drop down. So ideally it should fail the test case now. So let's execute this test case again. This time it should fail the test case because it will not find any value with ABCD in it. It will not find this ABCD value in this month text. So let's see what happens. So this time the test case will fail basically. So it is launching the browser. And if you see, test case is failed because this flag became false. If you see, we are expecting condition to be truthy, but it received false. That's why the test case got failed. So that is one of the way of putting some assertion in our drop down related test case to find out whether specific element is present in this drop down or not. Now we have used this for loop. There is a slight variation also we have already seen in our previous session. So we can use the same but in some different way as well. So instead of page.locator, what I will do, I will simply change this page.locator to page dot 2 times dollar symbol. Then it will also capture the same. It will also capture the same month option, that drop down, and all this will be stored in months. Then we don't have to use this count. We can directly use another type of for loop. So I'm just removing this part. Flag we will still need. So instead of this for loop, what I will do? So instead of this for loop, we can simply use for constant of month of months, and we can simply remaining logic will remain same. So we are simply, instead of this dot nth index, what we can do, we can directly use, so we are now using this for loop, constant month of months, one by one the value from this months it coming into the month variable, month constant, and then we are just fetching the value without using this nth of I index. We can directly use months dot text content. So we can directly use month dot text content, not the months, because we are fetching the text from this constant here. Month dot text content, we are storing it in month text, and the rest logic will remain the same. And if I save this file and we can execute again, instead of APR, let's put JAN this time. So it will check for this JAN value to be present in the drop down or not. Or let's say we can simply put December value this time, DEC. So let's execute this file one more time. So this is another way of approaching, another way of using the for loop. So instead of page of locator, we can also use page dot 2 times dollar symbol. And we can use this for loop this time, because it will store element handles. So for element handles, we can use this approach. Any approach we can use page dot locator with previous example as well. If you see there is something is wrong, it still received the value as false. Why it received the false? Let's check the logic again. Instead of DEC, let's check the values in the drop down as well. Let's save this file and let's try to run this one more time. Let's execute this file. It will launch the browser, it will start the test case. It is launching the browser. It will click on sign up for Facebook, and this time it passed. Actually, we did not save the file last time, that's why it failed. So this time it passed because it found this December value in the drop down. Instead of December, if I put again, let's say some random value, I am just saving it. And now let's execute one more time. This time it will fail because it will not find that value of triple H in month drop down. So it will fail this time. So it will launch the browser, it will execute the test case, but this time it will fail because this value will not be found in that month drop down. So this test case will eventually fail and flag will become false and test case is failed now. So this is again another approach which we can use to check whether specific element is present in that drop down or not by using looping. So we have used looping this time. We can use one more approach without looping also, we can directly check. Let me just show you that part as well. So what I will do, I'm just removing this loop. I'm just removing this loop. I'm keeping the flag equals to false. Let's go to drop down. So this is the drop down. What is the drop down? Drop down element locator ID equals to month. So what I will do, so this ID, that is hash month, will locate this drop down. So what I will do, I will just use this locator. Instead of hashtag month option, which is pointing to multiple elements, all the elements, what I will do, I will simply use hash month. So it will identify only that drop down element, and then we will use flag equals to false, and then I will use if condition. So what I will use, if I am going to capture all the text from this month. So what I will do, I will simply use months equal to average await page dot locator. So page dot locator, it will find this drop down, and then from that locator, what we will do, I am just capturing month text equal to months dot text content. So it will contain all the text content, and after that what I will do, I will put one if condition. If flag equals to false, initially I am defining this flag equals to false. If this months underscore text includes APR, then in this if condition I will make that flag equals to true. So what we are doing here is we are capturing that drop down locator, single element drop down in this months, then we are capturing all the text content of that element, and then we are checking if that text content includes April or not. If it is included, then flag will become true and this condition will become true, right? So this will pass the test case. So let's execute this test case. So let's execute this. It will launch the browser. It will click on sign up for Facebook link. If you see, the test case got failed this time. Let me see why it is failed. Okay, so we have not put. So always remember to put await statement. So whenever you are using some methods like text content or any method, then we have to use this await keyword. Do not miss to add this await keyword, else it will throw the errors. So let's execute this file one more time. So it will launch the browser. It will perform the same operation again. It will check in that text whether April is present or not. If it is present, then this test case should pass. Okay, so one more mistake we have done here is we have not defined this one. So let's put constant here. Let's save this file. Again, let's execute this test case. So this time it should work correctly. So it is launching the browser. It will click on sign up for Facebook link, and after clicking on that link, if you see, now the test case is passed because it found that text including APR. Instead of APR, if I put MMM, now what will happen? It will not find that, so it will fail the test case. So let's execute one more time, and this time it should fail the test case. So it is launching the browser. It will click on sign up for Facebook link, but this time it will fail the test case. test case is failed because this flag became false. It did not find value of MMM in that drop down. So that's why the test case got failed. So again, we can use this approach as well. So we have seen how to use loops to find any presence of specific element. There are multiple approaches, right? So let's revise one more time. So what we have seen is how to check number of options is drop down. We can simply use months equal to page.locator. We have to pass the locator which will point to multiple options of that drop down. Then we can have count method to verify whether it is correct or not. Then we have also seen how to check presence of specific element. In approach 1, we can also use like this. So just now which we have seen the example. We can also use looping statement. In the looping statement we can use element handles by using page dot 2 times dollar symbol, and then we can pass the locator which will pointing to multiple elements. Then we have used one flag, and we have used for loop in which we are looping and we are verifying the text content is including that specific value or not. If it is including that value, then we are making the flag equals to true. So in await expect condition, that flag value we are checking is it is truth or not. If it is true, then the test case will pass. And we can also use loop like this also. So instead of element handles, if you want to use page.locator, we have to pass the locator here. Again the same approach, flag equals to false. We have to use this type of for loop, and then we can check the condition whether it is true or not. So these are some examples of assertions which we can add for drop downs. So thank you for watching this video. In coming session we will see one more type of drop down which is different than this basic drop down. So in this drop down we have seen there is a select tag, but in advanced UI technology nowadays we are having the drop downs which do not contain any select tag in those. So how to handle such drop downs whenever, let's say for single element, or there can be a possibility of multiple element selection in drop downs as well.